Let's talk about two rising forces in bodybuilding, Goodvito and Martin Fitzwater. Two very different physiques, two very different approaches, and yet both are on a collision course toward the top of the IFBB food chain. Today, I want to break down what makes each of these athletes unique, what sets their training apart, and how their paths might shape the future of the sport. Let's start with Goodvito. Vitalii Ugolnikov, aka Goodvito, burst onto the scene with a physique that looks like it was carved out of a Marvel comic. He's got absurd width, lats that flare like a cobra's hood, and a waist so tight it looks photoshopped in real life. What really makes Goodvito stand out is the combination of dense, mature muscle with a classical taper. His delts pop, his arms have that round, hanging fullness, and his legs, especially his hamstrings, have that grainy separation that usually takes a decade of grinding to develop. And he's only in his mid-20s. Goodvito's training style reflects the Russian discipline he grew up with. It's structured, methodical, and volume-heavy. He doesn't train to failure often. Instead, he relies on high frequency and precision. Think multiple sessions a day, textbook form, and a relentless focus on symmetry and proportion. You rarely see him miss a rep or swing a weight. Every movement looks rehearsed, almost robotic, but the results speak for themselves. To give you a concrete example, here's a verified leg workout from Goodvito. Leg extensions, 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. Leg press, 4 sets of 10 to 12 reps. Hack squats, 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps. Lying leg curls, 4 sets of 12 to 15 reps. Standing calf raises, 4 sets of 15 to 20 reps. This routine emphasizes controlled movements and high volume, aligning with his focus on symmetry and proportion. Now let's flip the page to Martin Fitzwater. Martin is cut from a different cloth. The self-proclaimed Martian has a blue-collar, high-intensity approach rooted in the Dorian Yates school of training. He's all about pushing heavy iron with purpose, taking sets to absolute failure, incorporating intensity techniques like forced reps, rest pause, and partials. His workouts are brutal, and his mentality is even more intense. There's no fluff, no pump chasing, just hard, ugly sets that build real density, and it shows in his physique. Martin has that rugged, grainy look. He's not as aesthetically pleasing as Goodvito in terms of lines and shape, but he makes up for it with sheer mass and thickness. His legs are some of the best in the game right now, massive, striated, and complete from hip to ankle. His back has come up tremendously, and his shoulders and arms have that hard-earned roundness that screams effort. While Goodvito might look like a cartoon superhero, Martin looks like the guy who would beat the hell out of that superhero in a street fight. Their posing also tells the story. Goodvito poses like a classic competitor, flowing transitions, wide-open shots, and an emphasis on creating an illusion. He knows how to highlight his strengths and hide his weaknesses. Martin, on the other hand, hits poses with brute force. He doesn't try to be pretty, he tries to be dominant. His posing is all about raw power, and that attitude comes through in every mandatory. Now let's talk about weaknesses, because even top-tier competitors have them. Goodvito's knock has always been his conditioning. He's brought incredible fullness and symmetry to the stage. But when he's missed the mark, it's usually in the detail. The grain, the dryness, the deep separations that come from suffering. That may be partially due to his relatively conservative training style. It builds muscle, but it doesn't necessarily forge that hard, etched-in look unless the diet and cardio are absolutely perfect. Martin, on the other hand, can sometimes look a bit blocky from the front. His waist isn't wide, but his torso is thick, really thick. That can make it hard to create that jaw-dropping taper, especially next to someone like Goodvito. And when his condition is even slightly off, it can mute the dramatic impact of his muscle density. So how do these two stack up against each other? It's aesthetics versus aggression, symmetry versus savagery. Goodvito is the technician, the sculptor. Martin is the hammer, the blunt force. In terms of training philosophy, Goodvito is training to build a statue. Martin is training to build a fortress. One is precise, methodical, and calculated. The other is raw, instinctive, and explosive. You can see it in their physiques, and you can feel it in the energy they bring to the stage. The question isn't who's better, it's who shows up sharper, who nails their peak, and who continues evolving. If Goodvito can consistently bring elite-level conditioning to match his shape, he could be nearly unbeatable. But if Martin keeps refining his presentation and tightening his waist while maintaining that size, he's going to be a serious problem for anyone in the lineup. These two represent different philosophies in bodybuilding, and the beauty of the sport is there's room for both. A judge may lean toward classic lines or hardcore mass depending on the show, the lineup, and the standards of the federation. But as fans, we get to appreciate both. In a sport often obsessed with trends, both Goodvito and Martin bring something refreshing. They're young, hungry, and pushing the envelope in their own ways. And if they keep progressing, we're going to be talking about them not as prospects, but as title threats sooner than people realize. So who do you prefer? Goodvito, the aesthetic tactician, or Martin, the blue-collar battering ram? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget, iron sharpens iron.